It is November, 1943. The location is the swaying, freezing interior of a transport train cutting through the rural darkness of Virginia, United States. Inside the steel boxcar, the air smells of unwashed bodies, stale, tobacco, and a fear so sharp it tastes like copper on the tongue. Heinrich Weber, 22 years old, from the bombed-out streets of Dresden, sits huddled against the vibrating metal wall. He pulls his gray Wehrmacht greatcoat tighter, though it offers little protection against the gnawing chill that has settled in his bones since his capture in Tunisia. Heinrich is no longer a soldier of the Reich. He's a number, a prisoner of war, transported to a camp deep within the enemy's homeland. His propaganda officers had warned him about this moment. They told him the Americans were gangsters, ruthlessly efficient killers who would work him to death or line him up against the wall as soon as the witnesses were gone. Across from him sits Sergeant Thomas Miller, 30 years old, a corn farmer from Iowa with calloused hands and a face etched by the sun. Thomas is not a prisoner. He is the god. He holds a rifle loosely across his knees, chewing on a toothpick, watching the German boys with eyes that betray no hatred, only a tired curiosity. The train begins to slow, the screech of metal on metal piercing the heavy silence. Heinrich's heart hammers against his ribs. He believes this is the end. The train is stopping in the middle of nowhere. This is where they take him out into the woods. This is where the bullet comes. The doors slide open, letting in a blast of icy wind and the blinding glare of floodlights. But it is not a firing squad that awaits them. It is a logistical stop. A depot. Heinrich stumbles out, his legs numb, squinting into the light. He looks up and freezes. Directly ahead, past the barbed wire of the transit station, is a lit building with large glass windows. It looks like a temple of light in the darkness. It is a commissary, a supermarket for the base personnel. Heinrich starts his mouth slightly open. He sees pyramids of apples, red and impossible. He sees walls of canned goods stacked to the ceiling. He sees loaves of white bread, soft and packaged, not the sawdust-filled bricks he ate in the desert. He turns to the prisoner beside him and whispers in German. He tells him it is a trick. It is a Potemkin village. He is convinced the walls are made of cardboard, painted to look like plenty. He believes the people walking inside are actors, paid to demoralize the starving German prisoners. It is propaganda. Heinrich mutters, his voice shaking with anger and disbelief. It is a stage set. Nobody has this much food. Not even the Fuhrer. He refuses to look at it, terrified that if he believes in the butter and the meat, his entire world will shatter. Thomas, the American sergeant, notices the young German staring at the window, then looking away with squeezed-shut eyes. Thomas stands up and walks over. The snow crunches loudly under his boots. Heinrich flinches. He expects the blow. He waits for the rifle butt to the kidney, the shout to keep moving. He stiffens his neck, preparing for the pain. Instead, the crunching stops. A shadow falls over him. Heinrich opens his eyes and looks up. Thomas is reaching into the deep pocket of his wool coat. The movement is slow, deliberate, lacking all aggression. Thomas pulls out a brightly colored sphere. An orange. It is vibrant, painfully orange against the drab grays and browns of the war. The skin of the fruit is pitted and oily, bursting with a scent that suddenly overpowers the smell of diesel and sweat. The American holds it out. Heinrich stares at the hand. It is a working man's hand. Dirty fingernails, a wedding ring that looks too tight. He looks at the orange. He has not seen fresh citrus in 3 years. Take it, Thomas says. The words are foreign, but the tone is universal. It is the tone a father uses with a scared child. Heinrich shakes his head. He thinks it is poisoned, or worse, it is a cruel joke. He thinks if he reaches for it, the American will pull it away and laugh. The gangster cannot be kind. The enemy cannot be human. Thomas sighs, seeing the terror in the boy's eyes. He takes the orange back, digs his thumb into the peel, and rips a piece off. A fine mist of zest sprays into the cold air. The smell is explosive sweet, acidic, alive. Thomas tears off a wedge of the fruit and pops it into his own mouth. He chews, swallows, and smiles. Then, he breaks the orange in half. The juice runs over his fingers. He extends the other half to Heinrich again. "It's real," son Thomas says softly. "It's just an orange. We got plenty." "Go on." Heinrich's trembling hand rises. He takes the cold, wet fruit. The texture is shocking against his rough skin. He brings it to his nose. The scent triggers a memory of Christmas in Dresden, before the firestorms, before the screaming. He takes a bite. The flavor is intense, sweet and tart, flooding his mouth with a sensation that feels like life returning to a dead body. It is not cardboard. It is not a lie. The supermarket is real. The abundance is real. And in that moment, the ideological wall in Heinrich's mind collapses. The man in front of him is not a monster. He's a farmer who just shared his ration. The lie that sustained Heinrich's hatred dissolves in the citric acid of an American orange. Tears spill from Heinrich's eyes. They track through the dirt on his face. He is not crying because he is captured. He is not crying because he lost the war. He is weeping because the world is not as dark as he was told. "Thank you." Heinrich whispers in broken English. It is the only weapon he has left to lay down. Thomas nods, wipes his sticky hands on his coat, and pats Heinrich on the shoulder. "War is over for you, Kit. You're going to survive this." 50 years later, the year is 1993. The location is a quiet suburban porch in Iowa. The cornfields stretch out to the horizon, golden and endless under the autumn sun. An old man, Heinrich, now 72, steps out of a rental car. He walks with a cane, his hair white, his face lined by a lifetime of hard work in the reconstruction of Germany. He holds a small crate in his hands. On the porch sits Thomas. He is 80 years old now, frail, wrapped in a blanket. His eyes are cloudy, but they sharpen as the stranger approaches up the driveway. Heinrich climbs the steps. The wood creaks, a sound that echoes the floorboards of that train car half a century ago. He stops in front of the old American. For a moment, neither speaks. The silence is heavy, not with fear this time, but with the weight of a shared miracle. Heinrich sets the crate down on the small table between them. Inside the crate are 12 perfect, bright oranges. Heinrich looks at the man who once held a rifle over him. "You showed me the truth," Heinrich saws, his voice thick with emotion. "You showed me that my enemy was just a man who missed his farm." Thomas looks at the oranges, then up at Heinrich. A slow smile spreads across his face, bridging the decades. He reaches out a trembling hand, not to take the fruit, but to grasp Heinrich's hand. "I remember," Thomas's whispers. "You were just a boy. You looked so cold." They sit there as the sun goes down, to old men from opposite sides of the world, eating fruit and watching the wind move through the corn. The ideologies that once demanded their death are gone, buried in history books, but the taste of the orange remains. In the vast, violent theater of war, we often look for victory in the movement of armies, or the falling of flags. Yet, sometimes, the most decisive battle is won not with a bullet, but with a piece of fruit given to a shivering stranger. It is the moment when we realize that the lines drawn on a map cannot stop the stubborn, enduring reach of our shared humanity. The supermarket was not propaganda, but the kindness was the only truth that mattered.